So welcome to day one of Bamboo Builders Community Huddle. My name is Charmaine, the Operations Director of Bamboo Builders, and I will be your host for today. But before we begin, I'd like to go through some of the rules of the huddle. Please remain muted at all times throughout the entire huddle so everyone can hear our speaker sharing. As you may have also recalled, when you actually sign up for the event, you have also indicated your preferred breakout rooms. And as such, after the sharing, we will be placing you into your breakout rooms. So in the breakout room session later, if you wish to speak or ask your questions, please use the raise hand function, or you can actually submit your questions in the Zoom chat. Do note that our breakout rooms will actually be happening concurrently, so do message your facilitator or any Bamboo Builders team member if you wish to switch to another breakout room. However, in order to minimize any disruptions, you can only do this once. This allows you to interact with more than one speaker should you wish to. So I understand that the event is still quite early. It's about 2 more minutes till 11. So right now, we'll just wait for a few minutes as more participants do join us. But I hope you actually like our community huddle video. So as more participants do join us eventually, maybe we can play once more of the community huddle video. So Shumin, maybe you can go to the next slide. Thank you.
Through our years of work, we've encountered many young people who know about poverty and want to do something about it. However, many times they don't know how they can contribute or where to even begin. We believe there is power in gathering social leaders and passionate youth from across ASEAN, a community built to spur action and drive systemic change against poverty. And that's why we started our community huddle, to build change better. Through Southeast Asia's pioneering community huddle, meet hundreds of other like-minded people, glean on-the-ground expert insights, and broaden your knowledge on regional approaches to combat poverty. Bamboo Builders Community Huddle occurs every half-yearly. We invite experienced individuals to provide a cross-industry sharing of best practices and skills to build change better in our communities. Bamboo Builders aims to build a participative community where people from diverse professions can be inspired in their passion to alleviate UN Sustainable Development Goal 1, no poverty. Let's hear what our participants had to say.
I found the talks very enriching because I get to learn more about issues in other countries and how organizations step up to address these issues.
I really enjoyed listening to each and every sharing. It's very important to have these conversations today. If we want to help, I think the first step is to gain awareness on the topic itself.
Sign up for more events like this. Get a better understanding of what the issue is like, and from there on possibly meet like-minded people and come up with a solution together.
Okay, so for those of you who have just watched the video, I hope that you have a better understanding of what our community huddle is about. And for those of you who have just joined us, once again, a very warm welcome to day one of Bamboo Builders October 2021 Community Huddle. My name is Charmaine, and I will be your host for today. Thank you for taking time out today to be present at our event. So maybe we'll start off with doing a short poll to see which countries are actually represented here with us today. So, yeah, I do see a vast majority actually from Singapore, but we do have people coming from beyond in the Southeast Asia region, such as the Philippines, Indonesia, and even Brunei. So I'm also thankful that, actually quite thrilled that we have people coming from Hong Kong and India. Our event actually spread beyond our ASEAN region. So thank you so much for actually joining us today. So right now, maybe we'll just start today's program with a little photo taking session. So please turn on your cameras so that we can actually see your pretty faces and your handsome faces, and I'll pass on the time to Carrie. Maybe Carrie can take over from here. So right now, we'll be showing you a video about Bamboo Builders. So this will actually give you a little insight of how we started and where we are today.
Hi, my name is Gabriel, founder of Bamboo Builders. We're an education consultancy that builds social entrepreneurs. We do this by equipping and empowering young adults across Southeast Asia with social entrepreneurial mindsets and skills to become effective change leaders in their community. This is the story of how we started. When I was 13, I was on a community development trip in the mountainous villages of Chiang Rai, Thailand. And during my time there, I saw this little girl. She was about 5 or 6 years old, and she was feeding her little brother. And while feeding him, a grain of rice dropped into the sand. She looked at it, picked it up, and ate it. And after coming back to the riches of Singapore, I just couldn't unsee that image. I tried to tell my friends about it, but nobody understood. And understandably so. They hadn't gone through the same experience as me. And it was here that I realized that urban youth are terribly unexposed. We live in a bubble of privilege, and over time, this lack of exposure sets them back in the kind of skills and mindsets relevant for our region. Meanwhile, rural youth would rather work in the fields than go to school, as this puts food on the table. These problems led to the founding of Bamboo Builders. Our experiential programs expose young people to Southeast Asia's most pressing problems, equip them with critical skills, and then empower them to create their own change sustainably. Through our Explore journeys, participants gain insight on social realities in ASEAN and experience hidden inequalities in Singapore. Through our Equip workshops, participants gain social entrepreneurial skills for careers in social impact sectors. Through our Empower trips, participants meet changemakers across ASEAN, learn and impart social entrepreneurial skills by building businesses overseas to fund educational expenses of rural students. We also organize community huddles where participants can meet like-minded people, glean expert insights, and discover opportunities to contribute. Founded in 2017, Bamboo Builders continues to innovate curricula that impacts communities across Southeast Asia. With a vision to alleviate poverty, Bamboo Builders trains and mentors rural youth to initiate school-based businesses that help subsidize school overheads. It then resources them with experienced social entrepreneurs, training, and skilled manpower in the form of urban youths who want to hone 21st century industry skills. More than 31 million youths in Southeast Asia are out of school. Bamboo Builders is working to fix that. Visit our website to find out more.
So yes, I hope that you enjoyed the little video, which tells you more about how Bamboo Builders started and what we are actually currently doing. So yes, next slide, please. Yep. So till date, we have trained 1,250 young adults, initiated 38 social projects, and nurtured 13 social enterprises under our belt. This wouldn't have been possible without our interns, volunteers, trainers, and our partners. So next slide, please. So we train confident leaders to change their community through social entrepreneurship. And not only that, we also expose, inspire, and connect young adults to take the first step to help tackle poverty in ASEAN. And that is why we started our community huddle. Next slide. So we started on a humbling note back in 2019, having only 25 participants in Q3 of 2019, Gabriel being the speaker. Thereafter, in the last quarter, we managed to grow to inviting 50 participants, having 3 speakers. In 2020, just as COVID hit us, unfortunately, that was also our last physical event, but we managed to garner about 80 participants, inviting 4 speakers. In Q2 of 2020, we decided to move it online, having a pre-recorded video, garnering about 372 views, inviting 3 speakers. Next, we move on and decided to be a bit more ambitious, having to do a live stream on the last quarter, garnering about 220 views, inviting 4 speakers. This year, we decided to go bigger and broader, inviting speakers from all over ASEAN. So in the first quarter of 2021, we invited 4 speakers from 3 different countries talking about urban poverty, talking about generational poverty, garnering about 180 views. And today, right at this current moment, Q4 of 2021, we have 8 speakers from 5 different countries, having about 120 sign-ups rate, lasting over 2 days. We are actually going to talk about the impact of food insecurity and poverty in the region of ASEAN. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted many of our lives and sadly more so for others. And therefore, it is important to understand the impact that food insecurity has on poverty. Next slide, please. So this will actually be the lineup for today's session. We'll first have 2 speakers sharing, and then we'll break out into our breakout rooms where you'll get the chance to interact with the speakers, asking your questions. Thereafter, we'll come back to the main session to hear speakers 3 and speakers 4 sharing. After that, we'll break out into our breakout rooms again for you to ask and interact with speakers 3 and 4. Lastly, we'll close off coming to the main room for the whole session. So right now, I'd like to invite Gabriel Tan, founder of Bamboo Builders, to give his opening sharing, as well as what we have been up to this year. Gabriel, please.
Okay, thank you, Shamin. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Gabriel. Greetings, friends from Singapore, friends from abroad, friends of friends. In these challenging times, what we need are friends. And for people that are living in poverty, sometimes who you know makes the difference between life and death. The same thing goes for us as a social enterprise. Today, Bamboo Builders counts itself fortunate to call you our friends. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide one more time. Yeah, so we've come a long way as a social enterprise, and we actually started in December 2017, where we started a social project to teach social entrepreneurship skills in Vietnam. And it produced 2 rural social enterprises within 1 year. And we've never looked back. Today, we are using the same content that we've developed through the years to train schools, corporates, and individuals across ASEAN in our methodology. And this would not have been possible if not for you, our community. So thank you so much for your support and your encouragement through the years. And thank you for joining us today, and as well as our past community huddles again and again and again. Next slide. For our old friends, you'll notice the structure of this huddle is a little different. In the past, Bamboo Builders used to be one of the speakers, but I think we've reached a stage where the community huddles have grown tremendously. And I think it's only fair that we get more speakers in to share their experiences and this wealth and their wealth of knowledge. Yeah, and instead, Bamboo Builders is going to treat this as our an annual general meeting, and you guys are all our stakeholders. So let me now give you a quick update on what we've been doing this past year. Yeah. So in 2021, we've trained more than 150 young people. This is a lot of it was due to the power of online technology. Yeah, we've initiated 23 social impact projects and actually nurtured 4 social enterprises. So a lot of times these young people, we actually go through our programs and we link them up to relevant stakeholders, relevant social entrepreneur mentors, and we also continue to equip them with relevant skills through our programs that I'll go through later on. Next slide. Yeah, so these are our 2021 key milestones. In March, we conducted an e-facilitation workshop for 15 project leaders, including lecturers from institutes of higher learning like Singapore Poly, Singapore Management University, and Ngee Ann Poly. They then took the skills learned to continue on to impact their own overseas projects. We've also conducted our first online community huddle with international speakers, like what Charmaine said just now, inspiring a crowd of more than 180 people. I'm also very thrilled to announce our first corporate explorer journey in May with Salesforce. And from this, they actually wanted 3 more programs, one of which was an online Equip Train the Trainer workshop, where we trained Salesforce staff to then educate children on the topic of food insecurity and food waste. Okay, next slide. COVID actually disrupted our way of business and even our way of making impact. So we had to adapt both our business model as well as our social impact model. So in 2021, we launched 5 new programs focusing more on our local roots and creating an online presence in ASEAN. First, we launched Explore Inequality and Urban Farms. These are programs that bring youth up close and personal with the realities of social inequalities and food sustainability in Singapore. Next, we've had to change our impact model as we can no longer physically travel to build businesses in rural schools. We're now building early stage education/poverty related social enterprises in ASEAN, and then resourcing them with skilled manpower through our marketing and leadership for good programs. And we do this with schools. Thus far, we've trained 110 young people from across ASEAN in these programs. We'd like to thank our partners, ITE, Ngee Poly, and our partners in Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam for making these programs a huge success. As we carve out a niche in online impact programs, we've also launched a Train the Trainer program to equip trainers with heart that would like to contribute to our mission. Visit our website if you'd like to contribute. All right, next slide. And lastly, I've also had the honor to be named Singapore's Impact Entrepreneur of the Year and top 35 most inspiring entrepreneurs under the age of 35. Bamboo Builders was also selected by ASEAN Foundation as one of the top 20 social enterprises in ASEAN from hundreds of applications. At this point, I'm just filled with gratitude at the impact of our work so far. And I'm thankful for all our team of interns, of trainers, of volunteers, and also partner organizations who have worked tirelessly to deliver top-notch social entrepreneurship programs for young people. Next. And next week, we're launching our Marketing for Good workshop. This is our flagship online workshop, specially created for young people who want to learn hands-on marketing skills for careers in impact organizations. Visit our website and scan the QR code to find out more. And we are conducting this next week for more than 100 packs in Malaysia. Online. That's the power of online. So yeah, last slide. Friends, more than 31 million youth in Southeast Asia are out of school. And after COVID, even more are living in poverty. Thousands are dying every day as we remain cooped up in the safety of our homes. To build change better, we need to connect and not disconnect. But how can we do this? So today's community huddle aims to encourage organizations who continue on fighting against poverty and hunger, as well as to bring our friends, no matter what country we are in, a little closer to each other through the power of technology. Ladies and gentlemen, Bamboo Builders proudly presents to you our signature event, Community Huddle 2021, Food Insecurity and Poverty. All right. Thank you.
So thank you, Gabriel, for the wonderful and inspiring sharing. So right now, let's begin our community huddle. In order of sharing, we have Ms. Ruth Helena, Special Program Officer at Food Bank of Indonesia. Next up, we have Mr. James Layson, Managing Director of Scholars of Sustenance in Thailand, followed by Mr. Bjorn Loh, Executive Director and Co-founder of Edible Garden City in Singapore. Lastly, we have Ms. Susanna Tang, Co-founder of Urban Origins in Singapore. For our first speaker, we have Ruth Helena, a Special Program Officer working in the Sayap Dari Ibu or Mother Suing program at Food Bank of Indonesia. This program aims to empower mothers from underprivileged families in fulfilling their children's needs at their golden age through food intervention and education. In the Mothers Wing program, Ruth led and coordinated with the team and community through planning and evaluation. She has also served as a liaison between Food Bank of Indonesia and the related stakeholders. Her personal motto is Bore Ikut Oluk, which refers to the Javanese philosophy meaning life is like light or fire that should benefit others around us. So let's please give Ruth a warm welcome for her sharing. Ruth, please.
Okay. Thank you, Sermin, for the introduction and for Bamboo Builder for having Food Bank of Indonesia in Community Huddle 2021. Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm going to share a little bit more about our work in Food Bank of Indonesia, which uses something that we might not be aware of food waste that can be used for igniting people's hope. Before I share about it, I want to ask you, have you eaten breakfast? And what are you planning to eat after this afternoon? I want to know. Okay, maybe we can sharing in chat, in Zoom chat. Okay, have you eaten breakfast? And what are you planning to eat after this afternoon? Okay, mom's home cooked food. Wow, nice. Thank you, Miss Yeshing Lim. Yes, ate bread. Bread, Gabriel. Garlic bread homemade. Wow. Skipping lunch. Okay, no worries. Dim sum. Oh, I love it too. Coffee and bread from me. Okay, thank you everyone for the answers. Yep. For some of us, it's easier to think or to get what we want to eat. But out there are people who still struggle every day to think whether they can or they cannot eat today. And for some people, this is an everyday reality, especially when we are talking about those vulnerable groups who rely on others to get food, such as children and elderly. Next. Okay, hunger in Indonesia is still high. In the 2020 Global Hunger Index, Indonesia ranks 70 out of the 107 countries. Okay, we can next. With a score of 19.1, Indonesia finally in a moderate level of hunger, and about 30.8% of children under 5 is still stunted. This is a chronic malnutrition, but based on the latest data, this number has decreased. Next. Okay, Food Bank also did a survey in 2020, and we found that more than 20% of children go to school on an empty stomach. No one learns effectively on an empty stomach, right? This reminds me with several visits to our beneficiary, and I found that many children come to school hungry, and this number can reach 50%. Hunger in Indonesia is not only about food availability, but about the issue of access and knowledge. And as we know that poverty has direct significance to consumption, because when people are poor, they cannot afford to eat healthy and nutritious food. Not only poverty, but also the food choices that are available in the market are more expensive. And Indonesian food prices, for your information, are significantly higher than in much of the rest of Asia. And combined with communities' limited knowledge in the about healthy and nutritious food choices become the challenge that we should address in reducing hunger. Next. With the rising threat of COVID-19, the agriculture in Indonesia is resilient and can maintain stable growth, hopefully. But why is the COVID-19 is still a threat to Indonesia's food security? Turns out, COVID-19 has impacted Indonesia's food security through other means. The virus bears concerns to the employment and poverty issues, as well as reduced access to food. Food insecurity increased because of the disruptions in food supply chain as a result of social distancing in Indonesia during pandemic and layoff of many workers, and the increasing of unemployment rate can also potentially reduce purchasing power, especially healthy food. And if the family have children, the disruption of access to food can lead to the increasing the risk of malnutrition in children, and they can be a lost generation, as UNICEF has said. Next. Some of these cases are one of the many problems that need to be resolved so that people at all times can access food that is available, affordable, equitable, and stable for an active and healthy life, or what is called food security. And food security is supported by 4 pillars. Here I put the last 2 pillars together, and the 4 pillars must be realized together and in balance. And to dive into more indicators of food security, we can look at analysis by the Economic Intelligence Unit on Global Food Security Index. Indonesia has made slight progress, but last year the score fell and we are still far below other neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. And this is largely because we have a very low ranking in quality and safety, and this means one of the indicators in that category is dietary diversity. Next. On the other side of hunger, another analysis from the Economic Intelligence Unit, ironically, showed that Indonesia is the second largest food waster. That's why I said before that hunger in Indonesia is not only about food availability, or maybe it's not. Based on the latest research for the last 20 years, all of those food waste in Indonesia can provide food for more than 100 million of Indonesian people. And why we should aware of food waste? In recent decades, food security is facing multiple complex challenges, not limited to growing population, rising food prices, but also climate change, or some may say climate crisis. Food waste, which contribute to additional greenhouse gases emissions, as we can see in the diagrams, combined with overuse of resources, can lead to climate change, and climate change is projected to lower agricultural productivity. Next. Okay, as food is the most important basic of human need, and its fulfillment is part of human right. It is really important for us to protect the rights through opening food access for everyone. And this could happen by also ensuring the food availability of the present generations, which are met without compromising future generation needs. And this call to action is the implementation of SDGs. Next. Okay, but how can we do it? Instead of wasting food, we can bring those food to the table and feed more people in need. And that's what Food Bank of Indonesia do. Next. To bridge those gaps and become a bridge between those with access food, ranging from food producer, manufacturers, distributors, or even individuals, and those who need food. We have served for 6 years now, and Food Bank of Indonesia was created to help overcoming food inequality. Let's dive into more detail about what Food Bank of Indonesia has done. Okay, next. Food Bank of Indonesia trying to improve food access in community through providing food assistance by redistributing leftover food. You can learn more about it too from Shores of Sustenance in Thailand after this. And the second is encouraging community to have the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary for them to choose and grow, prepare, and enjoy healthy food through education. And the third is encouraging the usage of local food because in Indonesia, we have so many local food. By embracing everyone in the community, especially women, because in the community, especially family, woman has a role to decide what the family will eat in a day. Next. And we try to realize those missions through several programs. Next. Because we have a dream that through community assistance, it is hoped that it can encourage them from the hands below or receive, be hands-on, give. And we have several programs ranging from redistributing food through Mentari Bangsaku, Sadari, and I'm the project officer of Sadari or Mother's Wings program, Dapur Pangan Hoi, or a food community-based kitchen, and encouraging community to grow their own food through Kebun Pangan Komunitas. We call it the community garden. Next. And through this program, we have served in several corporate areas in Indonesia, mostly in Java Island, because Indonesia is an archipelago country, and we mostly in Java Island. And next, based on evaluation from Mentari Bangsaku program, after several months or years of implementation, we can go next. We found that children become more focused in learning and more enthusiastic to participate in school activities. Their habits toward food was also improved, and benefits are also felt for the school's image. Next. And this is our coverage area in Sayap Dari Ibu program or Mother's Wing. We collaborate with one of primary healthcare in Indonesia called Posyandu to help mother in providing best food for their children. And next. Okay, what I want to highlight from this slide is not only the impact on children's nutritional status in their golden age. Next. Okay, what I want to highlight from this slide is not only the impact of children's behavior towards food that was improved, but also the parents and community become more concerned with the growth and development of the children. And there's an African proverb that said it takes a village to raise children. And we are proud that through this program can encourage communities awareness about supporting growth and development of children. Next. Through Dapur Pangan FOI, we are grateful that more people are getting enough food to fulfill their needs and help them to reduce their burden from thinking I can eat or not today. And moreover, many partners could avoid food becoming waste and use it for help others. Next. We are not alone. We are proud to collaborate, or in Indonesia, gotong royong. It's our culture to ignite hope with more than 4,000 volunteers, and most of them are women. Next. We have distributed more than 1,500 tons of food. That's a lot of food. And we have distributed food to this number of beneficiaries. Next. This is several snapshots of our activities during the pandemic, and we are proud to be able to work together with volunteers. We have an extraordinary passion for sharing and also live others. Okay, so next. So what we can do to help is the difficulty our country faces in tackle food insecurity and its interrelated issue. Next. Someone once said that every significant change always starts with simple steps. And if you want to change the world, start with yourself, right? To contribute in maintaining the food security, there are some simple daily actions as well as reminders that we could put in practice. And it means that respect your own food, wasteless, and finally inspire others. Make sure that you are always being considerate with your eating portion so that you don't have leftover foods off your plate after your lunch. Keep in mind that not all of the people have privileged access to food security, but also try to appreciate the ones who have taken part in preparation of food in your table. And the next. As we know, the challenge of food security, hunger, and also food waste also runs the limitation of awareness on the issue itself. Thus, education becomes very crucial in this case, as Gabriel has said before. And each of our program has educational activities, and you can join us in this mission through many creative collaboration activities. Okay, next. And no one should be going hungry in Indonesia and in your country, and end hunger mission wouldn't realize without you. Okay, next, to end this presentation, I'm gonna share this photo. This is a photo of my visit to an area before the pandemic, meeting people who have an incredible passion for sharing, and they have unpredictable ideas, has become an experience that has enriched my life. And the honest is, I have a lot of friends and even family. And I'm so glad that I met you today. At first, it feels like a lonely road, but slowly many want to walk together, and every challenge every day becomes possible to face. And I hope you can also experience that. And that's all what I can share with you. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, Ruth, for the wonderful sharing. It's heartening to hear Food Banks of Indonesia's effort to help improve food access and nutrition in the vulnerable groups. So next up, we have James Layson, the Managing Director of Scholars of Sustenance from Thailand. Originally from the Philippines, he has been leading Scholars of Sustenance with his expertise in operations and process optimization. He has more than 10 years working experience in the business process outsourcing industry as an operations manager of different American companies such as Expedia, Wells Fargo's, Allstate Insurance, and others. So let's give James a warm welcome. James, please.
Thank you very much. Again, good morning, everyone. First of all, amazing presentation by Ruth and amazing work being done in Indonesia. Just want to commend Ruth and her team for all the work that they're doing there. And also, it's very nice to hear more of what Bamboo Builders do today. And that's very, very impressive. And just want to commend the whole team for all the work that you do. The world needs more of you, so keep it up, team. So, again, good morning, everyone. This is James, and I'm very honored to be here to represent Scholars of Sustenance that operates in Thailand and Indonesia for now. And like how I was introduced, I'm originally from the Philippines. So I just mentioned 3 ASEAN countries there. And yes, I've worked in the BPO industry for 10 years in the Philippines before I moved to Thailand to join the travel industry. Then the pandemic cost me my job, but it's not that all bad and negative because it led me to work in the world of nonprofit organizations. It's a very meaningful job in which I will share with you what is Scholars of Sustenance is all about. And yes, I am the managing director of SOS Thailand, who is leading 25 passionate Thai people that is working to address food waste and hunger here in Thailand. I'll be sharing with you what we do, what problem we are addressing, and what ways we do to combat that problem. All right, so let's begin. Next slide, please. Scholars of Sustenance, or commonly known as SOS, is a food rescue foundation that redefines the way food is distributed so that we can provide good nutrition to those people in need. What we do is we collect good quality surplus foods 7 days a week from different hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, groceries, convenience stores, manufacturers, even school canteens. Then we deliver them straight to the communities on the same day. Our goal when we started was to serve 25 million meals by 2025. An exciting vision when we started, but to be honest, it was very scary because we don't know if we can achieve it. But later, I'll share and you'll know where we are at on this goal. Next slide, please. Our foundation was founded in 2012 by Mr. Bo Holmgreen. He's a Danish guy and a former CEO of Transoft Solutions Incorporated in the United States. And what they do is they help different banks on how to optimize their banking system. While he was on a business trip in Southeast Asia, he had an opportunity to see the good and the bad. And after having a nice meal at a fine dining restaurant in Bangkok, he saw that the servers are throwing all the good food in the bin as they are about to close. And just out of curiosity, he approached one of them and asked, why are they doing that? And he was told that it's their protocol. So after seeing all the hungry people while traveling in Southeast Asia, then seeing a good amount of good quality food available just being thrown away, he had a realization. It was a turning point for him and made him think that there must be something that we can do about this. So in his retirement, after selling the company, he then established SOS in the United States in 2012. Then finally, he established the operation in Thailand in 2016, then expanded in Bali in Indonesia in 2017. And then after a few years, we have expanded here in Thailand, first in Phuket in 2019. And then last year, during the most difficult time, we opened in Hua Hin. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those cities, but there are tourist cities in Thailand where a lot of food businesses, a lot of tourists go there and a lot of food waste are happening. So that's the main reason why those cities were selected. And then hopefully by the mid or end of this Q4, we may expand in the north, probably in Chiang Mai. So we're looking forward to that. Next slide, please. In Thailand, 64% of general waste found in landfills are organic waste that is food waste. And as of 2020, based from the research of Chiang Mai University, there is an estimated 26 million tons of food waste in Thailand per year. And in Bangkok alone, I don't know if some of you or most of you have visited this capital city, it's around 9,000 tons of food waste per day. And we are more than certain that a lot of good quality surplus food is being thrown away. And it's a really, really sad situation because these good quality food could have been eaten by people who has no access to good food. So this is the value we bring to the table. We want to help alleviating poverty, which currently Thailand is at 10% almost, and there is an estimated 6.5 million Thai people undernourished. And we have a very clear vision in this country, and that is to create food equity where all types of people can have good access to good food. And our mission is straightforward, and that is to address hunger and food waste in Thailand by 2030. Next slide, please. In terms of the current unemployment situation in Thailand, you will see a significant impact of the pandemic. As mentioned by Ruth a while ago, high unemployment rate reduces the purchasing power of people, in which increases the food insecurity in the society. As you will see in the slide, the first 4 quarters from 2019, second quarter, to first quarter of 2020, it shows an average of 1% unemployment rate. But when the pandemic hit the first quarter of 2020, the impact is shown on the second quarter of 2020, rising from 1.03 to 1.95, and it stayed on its lane for 1 year, with an average of 1.91%. It's a significant spike. But you would notice from Q2 of 2020 to Q4, it's slowly improving. It's not a news for you all, as you know, that Thailand was able to manage the cases last year and not much restrictions are in place. So businesses were able to recover at least. But things changed when 2021 came. It started to increase again in Q1 because of the second wave. We started the year with a spike, but again, we managed to lower it down by the end of Q1. However, when Q2 came, a third wave was upon us, and this was a turning point for the country as it lasted up to now. More restrictions, more businesses are closed or have fully closed. So it means more loss of job and more people are unemployed. That's why you would see a significant spike on Q2, which is 2.5%. That's how the pandemic affected so many people here in Thailand. Next slide, please. So the way we are tackling hunger and helping to reduce food waste is by these two main activities. Our main activity is called Food Rescue Program, which collects surplus food to minimize or eliminate food waste from our different partners and to feed the communities in need. The other activity is called Rescue Kitchen Program, which is a smart food program that repurposes rescued food ingredients and we turn them into nutritious meal. And then they are prepared by community volunteers on different community kitchens across the city. Just to note that these are just 2 out of many other activities we have that tackles food waste and hunger, plus educational programs to educate the community. But I would like to highlight these 2 first. Next slide, please. So Food Rescue Program, this is how our operation works. This is the model. So what we do is like I mentioned a while ago, we send out our cooling truck 7 days a week to different partners, maybe hotel, restaurants, manufacturers, whatever. And then we collect their surplus food and we weigh them to collect the data. We inspect the food for food safety distribution. Then we go to different recipients on the same day. It's a very easy process and not too complicated. That's why a lot of companies have joined this program, because not only it is free for them, but it's helping to address their problem. Plus, it's not too complicated to join. And what we do is we prioritize the communities in need, particularly those that badly needs good nutrition, such as the elderly, disabled people, undernourished kids and women, even the neglected communities in the society, such as the refugees and migrant workers. And during these difficult times, those low-income communities that are struggling to survive this pandemic, we collaborate with local government agencies to help those communities. Next slide, please. So far, when we started in 2016 until August of this year, we have made this impact. And we have collected, rescued, and donated 2.7 million kilograms or 2.7 million tons of kilograms of food, equivalent to 13 million meals and equivalent to 6 million tons of kilograms of CO2 equivalent. And we have served to 548 communities across 15 provinces in this country. And we're very proud to say that no other organization has created such an impact when it comes to addressing food waste and hunger here in Thailand. So we're very, very proud of what the team has done so far. Again, this is to highlight that the solution to hunger is food. But we didn't need to produce food to feed hungry people. Our solution was to get the available food out there. Instead of ending up in landfills, we redirect them to people. No need for overproduction just to address hunger. The solution is available already. It just needs to be redirected. And it's a sustainable solution. Plus, it's helping the companies to minimize their food waste. It's a win for the community. It's a win for the businesses and a win for the environment. Next slide, please. This is just to show everyone the growth of SOS over the years and how it significantly grew during the pandemic. As you can see on the table, from the year we started until before the pandemic happened, we are helping around 100 plus communities and serve a total of 3 million meals with 100 plus partners who are helping, meaning providing us surplus food. But when the pandemic happened, the communities we are helping increased to 200 plus. And just for 1 year alone, we exceeded the amount of meals we served over the last 3 years and provided 4.2 million meals. And our partners have doubled up with 200 plus of them finally helping us. But this year, when things became more challenging for us, the number of communities have significantly increased to 500 plus communities, but the number of our partners have also increased to 400 plus. And because of that, we managed to serve 7.5 million meals so far, and we'll see where this will go by the end of this year. Next slide, please. So if you find this work of SS very interesting, if you think the solution we have is good, there are many ways you can help us. Either share our work to others so that they may know that there is a solution to food waste and hunger like this. Or if you know anyone who can partner with us to either donate food or money to support our operation, please refer us to them. We will sincerely appreciate it. We are also open to any partnership or collaboration to educate as much people when it comes to food waste. Because in SOS, we believe that education is one of the key solutions to addressing food waste, as solution can start at home, to be honest. So next slide, please. Again, thanks for having me. If you would like to know more about SOS, please visit our website or our Facebook page. If you wish to contact us, you can do so through any of our platforms. Again, this is James, and on behalf of SOS, thank you very much.
Thank you, James, for that wonderful sharing, where he actually shared the ways to reduce food waste to help alleviate hunger in Thailand. And I do agree that education is the most important and key aspect that allows to raise awareness and get people to know more about it. So yes, thanks, James, once again. So with that being said, I would like to thank Helena and James for their wonderful sharing. I am sure many of you have questions that you'd like to ask them. So right now, we'll be breaking up into the breakout rooms where you get the chance to interact with the respective speakers. So as a gentle reminder, should you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function, or you may even submit your questions in the Zoom chat. Our facilitators will be in the respective breakout rooms to facilitate the discussion. As there will be concurrent breakout rooms happening, do message the facilitator or any Bamboo Builders team members if you wish to switch to another breakout room. However, you can only do this once to minimize any disruptions. So we'll see you back in 25 minutes. So have fun and enjoy yourself. So I hope all of you enjoyed your breakout room session. We'll now be taking a short 5 minutes break. So please remember to come back on time with your cameras turned on and microphones muted. And we'll see you soon. Okay, so welcome back everyone from your break. I hope that you managed to grab a bit of water or managed to go to the washroom, because the next half of the segment is going to be even more interesting because you have two speakers from Singapore. So the first speaker, we invite Bjorn Loh. Bjorn Loh is a practicing urban farmer and a social change maker. A young leader of the World City Summit, he is also the executive director and the co-founder of Edible Garden City. Edible Garden City is an urban farming social enterprise that champions the grow your own food movement in cities around the world, starting with Singapore. Beyond focuses on identifying the value that urban agriculture brings to the communities of highly dense and food imported dependent cities. He has a keen interest in social ecology and how the rapidly aging population presents a new opportunity for urban care farms to play in cities. So please give a warm welcome to Bjorn. Bjorn, please.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day so far. And thank you for the invitation to speak and also to listen to two wonderful speakers prior. As you have heard probably from them that, it is not the crisis that we're facing is not really on the lack of food in our global food system, but really on the inequity and the unequal distribution of food to those in need. So today I'll be sharing a little bit of how some of these challenges have really presented itself over time, and how our work in community care farms hopes to sort of change some of these. So let me share my slide. Okay. So can everyone see my slide? Okay, great. All right. This is a very reminiscent picture of olden day Singapore, where we had actually quite a number of farms dotted around the city, or the kampong days, where we were actually quite food self-sufficient in many sense. If you look globally in the mechanics of how the global food system has been developed over the years, it always came out from a crisis, solving a crisis. If you look at the 1972 to 74 food price crisis, actually forced the world to change from a model of self-sufficiency or producing food for your own community, for your own sustenance, to something that is very driven by capitalist food system, because there was a need to invest to improve efficiency in the food system. And in relation to that, in Singapore, we have in the past, in the 60s, developed a very robust food system where 25% of our land was under cultivation, but at that time, 1.6 million people, inhabitants. In the 80s and in the 2000s, you started to see the formation of the neoliberal food security system. And this is really the time when it shifted for the growing dependence on food imports. So a lot of even producing countries, agriculture production countries, were reliant on food imports because they were shifting their production methods to cash crops, for example, thus not producing enough food for their own community. Singapore was no different in that. From 100% of eggs that we were producing, 104% of pork, 80% of poultry in 1975, by the 2000s, we were just producing very, very little of it. So we import from 170 countries. And this is also further exacerbated by the growth or the global food prices falling because of efficiency and economies of scale. Today, we are going into a new era of what we call a neo-product protectionism, again, very driven by the capitalist food system. And this is then integrating smallholding farmers into the global food supply chain. In one way, they are trying to elevate poverty by allowing them to participate in this broader global food movement, but it also has its inefficiencies. So we've seen in the pandemic how that has exposed supply chain inefficiency. A lot of times it's not that there isn't enough food, is that because the supply chain is so complex and the food system is so complex that any break within that food system causes the entire thing to collapse. And that you see farmers not being able to get their products into the market, contracts being cancelled because of a drop in demand of certain food products. And this is very highlighted within developing nations, agriculture nations, on the inability of smallholding farmers to quickly pivot their agriculture systems that is maybe focused on cotton or cacao, to fuel, Western markets for chocolates, into food crops to feed themselves. So the hunger issue then escalated from that. If you look back at Singapore, of course, with our robust sort of food import strategy, we still face hunger issues. 10% of Singaporean households experience food insecurity, within a year. If you are interested, have a look at the hunger report that was researched by SMU. Gives you a good understanding of what's happening in Singapore. Whilst we're trying to kind of look at broader system change within the food ecosystem, one thing that really comes out a lot is the environmental degradation that agriculture has brought towards nature and the ecosystem. Singapore today commands 70% of our fresh leafy vegetables, a lot from neighboring countries in ASEAN. This is a picture of Cameron Highlands, where you can see the top of hills and forests being cleared to then provide for that need. So there is a question on ethics and environmental ethics that in order for us to enjoy or sustain on very cheap food prices, who is paying the price for these destruction in the environment? Now, if you look into Singapore as a garden city, right, that has been one of very successful policy. Today, we have 200 hectares of green spaces or green roofs being built. And this is through very robust policy around greening of Singapore. This shift then in the last few years on the target of reaching 30% nutritional needs by 2030 presents actually an opportunity for us to look at perhaps situating some of these fruit production in our garden city area. So it's really about rethinking landscapes. What about foodscapes? We have so many ornamental landscapes, and we started Admiral Garden City 9 years ago, just to look at that, just using principles around sustainability, environmental impact, and community engagement. And there are many philosophies, design methodologies that are out there, many of them Western-centric, whether it's permaculture, biodynamic agriculture, or today regenerative agriculture, but all of them are based on knowledge and traditions that were of the native people or the indigenous people prior to this craziness of the capitalist food system. So just taking some of those inspirations, we were able to sort of put together a compendium of different native food production plants in a very forest setting. So designing it like a forest so that there's symbiotic relationship, whether it's from the top layer production layers of trees to shrub layers, to herbaceous ground cover layers, and also the vertical layers. And once you see, when you apply some of these philosophies and methodologies, for example, having a low input approach to farming. So in this instance, we are using green manuring, so using legumes to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere into the soil, instead of having to cut then fertilizers onto the rooftop. You start to see that becomes very robust in terms of productivity. It becomes a forest. I think if you leave any plot empty for a while, it turns into a forest. But this is in a way guiding it so that it's producing food for the community. We continue to look within the city for the activation of underutilized space. I think the discourse and the challenge with urban food production is really about land use and accessibility. And in Singapore, that is predominantly a bigger challenge because we are so land limited as well. So having to be innovative on where we can place farms like this under the viaducts is one that we looked at as well. We also explored transitionary spaces, especially in highly dense areas like Little India, on what the urban farm could bring to the community there. Of course, creating a space for conversation about the food system. This space in Little India, when we did the pop-up, also looked at what kind of impact we can make to the migrant worker community. What kind of outreach could we do on nutrition and food poverty within that space? And really, the gardens and the farms that we started to install in the city, like this one at Funan, which is one of the newer ones, became some places of environmental messaging and touch points for sustainability. So people came, they learned about this food production from a highly dense perspective. I wanted to sort of bring the topic a little bit more on while land and land use and accessibility is one thing, systems that we put in, but really the work, a lot of the work that we do is really in community engagement. And predominantly the challenge globally within cities is the disconnect between urban people and food production. This is not a problem that is facing Singapore alone, but in New York, in London, in KL, so it's a disconnect that we hope to reignite, and through the work, a lot of times you see that there is a loss of techniques and understanding of even how to use the chanko, right? We have to re-show and retrain people on how to use basic farming implements and tools. But this also presents an opportunity for a community sharing and cross-pollination of knowledge between the previous generation of farmers. Many of them were displaced when Singapore redesigned its economic system. This gentleman, Mr. Tan, he used to be a farmer, but he became a blue-collar truck driver, and he came back to a community farm setting, and he wanted to share his knowledge as well. So there is that intersection of knowledge sharing that is very crucial in these community spaces. Of course, a lot of the work we do is with schools, and we have done 220 schools installing gardens and putting curriculum around food security and food sustainability. And we a lot of times is getting them to get their hands dirty, getting bitten by mosquitoes, touching the creepy crawlies. It is really to get them to connect with the land, and actually just to show how tough food production is. Perhaps in some ways change their mind on food waste, to appreciate food a lot more. Of course, the kids and the children as well, using these gardens as a place of learning for them. and education. You can see, just teaching them about food waste and composting has a lot more value in the long run, because these kids will go back to their families as advocates and telling their parents what to do, and then educating them as well along the way. So I have two quick videos to show the social innovation aspect of farms, of the farms that we have created. And the two broad social impact space that we work in is through social employment. And I just wanted to quickly show you a video of Amit. I hope you can hear the sound. Can you hear the sound?
Brother or sister
Yes.
sick, right? He will straight away go and take thermometer. No sick. Go work. Yeah, he enjoy work. He enjoy work. That incident was, he will go morning, he will take one bus and get down opposite German Center. Every day he saw a junior college student. So every morning he will like, good morning, good morning. So she didn't acknowledge him. So got one day he'll go right in front of her and, hi, good morning. And I don't know what happened to her that day. She said, go, stupid. He was like very angry that why she called him stupid. The school called me up. I was that time working in the hospital. After night shift, I came back. They said, oh, there's a complaint. You have to come down. So when I went in, he was like sitting in a corner and crying. Then the teacher said, oh, you cannot send him alone. You need to send him to school, pick him up and all that. So then I took a few days urgent leave just to send him and pick him up. School teach him. They told him you cannot talk to strangers, and then you cannot go near girls. You must be one arm length apart from females especially. So even my daughter friends come, when they said, hi Amit, he said, Amit, no friends. I couldn't get a job, then I started doing part-time. I was doing part-time cashier for about 1 year plus. After another disaster, I found out I had cancer. So I went through all this cancer treatment and all that. I survived. Miss Eun called me. She said, this edible gardens, they want to offer Amit a job. Well, he come back, he was always very happy. He loved farming. I asked him, what do you do? Then he will tell me, he said, box, and then cut, I don't know what, then put the soil, put the seeds. He will, tell me like that. Actually, he got so much better after he started earning and he started doing this job.
We started employing them in 2015, and the reason why we decided to employ the special needs is because we thought that they could actually really contribute to society and give them a place in employment. Like after they finish school, most of the times people won't really go ahead and consider employing a special need, but in this case, they really fit the bill. They don't mind doing things like repeating the same task, and then they can do it well and do it fast. So I think it fits like both our needs as a win-win. Avi is one of the cutest out of everyone there. Very, very polite, that's one thing for sure. He would always greet anybody he sees, the first thing he do. And he likes to say good, right? So anything he's feeling good, he will just point good to people.
Before setting up any job site, I will have to what we call job shadow. That means I will go down to the job site to learn from the employer or the supervisor on how each task is carried out. We will note down the number of steps and of course ask questions, or if we can, take photos or videos of how the task is done. We will break down the task into more detailed steps and create visuals from there. Sometimes we act as advocates if there are some misunderstandings, or if the ASD clients do not understand certain social perspectives, then we will process with the clients and also help to explain to the employers. Amit is a very independent client, but he may not be as verbal in his expressive communication. What I did was I came up with a written communication script that I placed on his work schedule clipboard so he can show, point to the supervisor. And also I asked him for his phone, where I also helped to key the communication message inside his phone as an SMS template. So if he is not able to locate his supervisors, then he can also send him the text.
Okay, I guess for time, I will just sorry, I don't know how. Okay. All right, so just to finish up, what we're working on is really to pivot the urban farming into urban care farms. And how we're doing it is really to use urban farms to really create and provide mental wellness care or community care on also then a latent secondary benefit of producing food as well. And this is based on four core logics of physical movement, mental engagement, social synergy, nutrition and knowledge, and psychological well-being. And it's based on scientific evidence that we have accumulated from the work that we have done with elderly people, putting them through a series of urban farming courses. We have found that actually that has reduced their mental stress markers within their body. So the ability of urban farming to actually provide mental wellness and also produce food could potentially allow urban care farms to scale all around Singapore. I'll leave everyone with this last quote, which is the ultimate goal of farming is not the growing of crops, but the cultivation and perfection of human beings. I feel this really encapsulates the work we do in urban agriculture. So thank you for your time, and sorry for running over.
No worries. Thanks, Bjorn, for your sharing on food insecurity, for food security and sustainability, and how Edible Garden City uses the limited spaces in Singapore to create and connect the community and urban farms. So lastly, for today's sharing, we actually have Susanna. So Susanna is a youth advocate for food security and sustainability in Singapore. She is also the co-founder of impact-driven startup Urban Origins. Urban Origins connects local residents with Singapore's urban food, including farm produce, alternative protein, upcycled, and locally made artisanal food. Its mission is to fortify local food sources and enable food secure communities. Please give a warm welcome to Susanna. Susanna, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Shabin, for the introduction. As you all know, just like everyone else today, I've learned a lot from the esteemed speakers before me, and it is always a challenge to be the last speaker, especially so if it is after Bjorn from Edible Garden City. So for today, I'll be sharing my perspective on food security and what it means to us here in Singapore. Yeah. Next, please. In March 2020, we woke up to scenes like these, leaving us with little to no access to fresh produce. How many of you have had similar experiences in your neighborhood supermarkets from where you live? This episode actually gave me sleepless nights wondering about the world my son will be growing up in. Next. My son's food future is my biggest motivation. So I quit the safety of my government job as a teacher and started researching on Singapore's current food landscape. Next, please. In Singapore, unlike other countries in our region, we are a small city-state with little to no natural resources. Our resident population is about 5.5 million people. But did you know only 1% of our land is allocated for food production, and over 90% of the food that we eat is imported from around the world? Next, please. But being heavily dependent on imported food means that an event in another country can impact the supply and distribution of food here in Singapore. For example, in 2018, Malaysia made a decision to limit egg exports to other countries to cater for its growing local needs, but inadvertently skyrocketed the price of eggs here in Singapore. Unfavorable weather like heavy rains or droughts in other parts of the world means a sharp rise in prices for the food that we eat in Singapore. And more recently, supplies to Singapore were disrupted after one of the world's largest container ships got stuck in the Suez Canal, blocking traffic along the critical waterway. Also, international border closures due to COVID-19 and the resultant disruption of the global supply chain shows the need to reduce over-reliance on food imports and look inwards for other viable options. Next, please. For small countries like Singapore, food security is akin to inland security. So, to defend our food security, the Singapore Food Agency has implemented 3 food security strategies, which we also call the 3 food baskets. Firstly, to diversify import sources to mitigate the risk of a disruption from any single source. Secondly, to grow overseas to support our agri-food companies to expand and grow overseas. And thirdly, ramping up local food production to buffer the impact of an import disruption with a continued supply of fresh food such as eggs, fish, and vegetables. Next, please. Singapore's 30 by 30 plan was announced pre-COVID in 2019. It is an ambitious plan to produce 30% of our nutritional needs locally by 2030. COVID-19 actually helped accelerate this goal. The 30 by 30 plan encompasses a 5-pronged strategy to develop spaces and infrastructure, drive research, innovation, and enterprise, review regulatory requirements, grow the industry and ecosystem, as well as engage the public in Singapore's food security and the Singapore food story. Next. The pandemic and the push for 30 by 30 has seen a rise in not just commercial urban farms, but also the interest to grow our own greens, whether in our own homes, government-owned community gardens, or allotment gardens leased out to households. Schools also started their own edible gardens to get the young interested in growing their own greens and even take home to cook. More people are also aware of switching over to a plant-based lifestyle for the sake of the environment. As we are all aware by now, our current ways of food consumption will not be sustainable in the long run. Singapore is also the first country to approve the sale of lab-grown meat, showing its commitment to be part of the sustainable future foods movement. Prominent alternative food startups have also decided to set up their headquarters here and have received both regulatory and financial support from the government. Next, please. Singapore has a small but thriving community of local food sources to get our food from. Next. But there is a white elephant in the room. Our local food sources compete on shelf space with imported food and are not differentiated on existing online platforms and in our retail stores. And as a result, local food that is often more sustainable and nutritious are inadequate, expensive, and is limited in quantity. Next, please. This is where Urban Origins steps in. We are a platform that is dedicated to showcasing local sustainable food brands and helping lesser-known food startups reach a wider market. We do that by being the marketplace that aggregates local urban farm produce, food from agri and food tech companies, upcycled food, and home-cooked fresh food with at least one ingredient that is locally sourced. We then sell them direct to consumers and businesses. Next, please. To our merchants, we provide increased visibility by dedicating our solution to local food sources and providing marketing and outreach support. We also help them share resources and facilitate collaboration to bundle up their products for promotion activities. We also help our merchants reach their market to allow them to increase their supply in the long run. Next. To our customers, we provide a curated and dedicated list of local produce that is fresh and sustainable. Next, please. As well as the accessibility and the convenience of buying them from one platform. Furthermore, we also provide a variety of ready-to-eat food from our home-based F&B partners, as well as the option of packaging their items into a gift. Next, please. To delight our consumers, we plan to provide information of the food producers and edible community gardens closest in proximity. And very soon, our consumers will be able to track their carbon footprint on personalized dashboards, and we incentivize them to make future purchases through monetary offsets proportional to the carbon emissions they have cut. Our platform also leverages AI and machine learning to suggest relevant food and gifting options based on the personality of our consumers when we launch our version 2.0. Next, please. Overall, our plans to enable food-secure communities span across 3 phases. In phase 1, where we are now, we are creating an ecosystem of local sustainable food sources and providing brand visibility for our merchants. In phase 2, having gathered data in phase 1, we will take an analytical and data-driven approach to better predict consumer behavior towards urban foods. And in phase 3, we want to reduce inefficiencies in the supply chain. Having fine-tuned our model, we will be in a good position to scale our operations. Next, please. That, in a nutshell, is what Urban Origins is all about and how we plan to help defend Singapore's food security. Although we see many opportunities in the food and sustainability space, the challenge is to get people to change behaviors and lifestyles. Like how we all know exercise is good for us, we don't necessarily do it on a daily basis. It's the same for incorporating sustainable food options into our lifestyles. However, I do envision a time when we all have convenient access to sustainable, healthy, fresh, and safe food choices. And there will be a time when we will have food growing in our neighborhoods in abundance. And that is where Singapore can be truly called a garden city, an edible garden city. It is projected that by 2050, about 70% of our global population will be living in cities. We believe there is a lesson that every big city in our region and in the world can learn from Singapore. Come 2050, every city can provide for its residents from within and truly become a sustainable city. Next, please. Our mission is to make sustainable food sources accessible and enable food secure communities. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I, along with my team in Urban Origins, are truly honored to have been given this opportunity to share the space alongside all the other wonderful speakers. Thank you again, and look forward to answering questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna, for the inspiring sharing and on how food consumption in Singapore will not be sustainable moving forward, and how Urban Origins comes in the picture to be the marketplace for local food sources to consumers and businesses. So yes, like what Susanna said, we'll actually be breaking up into your breakout rooms. So once again, I'd like to thank Bjorn and Susanna for your wonderful sharing. So now we'll actually be breaking into your breakout rooms, and as a gentle reminder, please, if you wish to speak, do use the raise hand function, or you may also submit your questions in the Zoom chat. Our facilitators will be in the respective breakout rooms to facilitate the discussion. So we'll see you back in 25 minutes and have fun. So welcome back, everyone. We hope that you have enjoyed interacting with our speakers. Right now, it's time for us to do a short wrap up of what we have discussed in today's community huddle. So let's hear from you guys what you have learned from today. Do type in your answers in the Mentimeter link sent in the Zoom chat, or you can also scan the QR code on the screen here. So the two questions are, number one, how have you benefited from our community huddle? The next question is, what is your biggest takeaway from our community huddle? So while you are actually sharing your thoughts, let's hear from our facilitators. So I'll get one facilitator from each group to also share their thoughts. So maybe you can get from room A, we'll get Catherine. So Catherine, what have you learned from this huddle?
Okay, so hi. Actually, I've gained a lot of exposure because for my group, right, we've heard from Ruth and Beyond. Then Ruth was talking about Indonesia's food security, and then this is something that we won't usually get exposure to, especially if like we are currently studying, and then it's just studying, then we will move on to working. So then this is a very good experience for us to get to know what other countries are facing, and also not just live in our own bubble. Then for Beyond's presentation and Q&A session also, it's very insightful because we get to know like Singapore can also contribute in the agricultural sector, even though we are a small country with limited land. And then the technology that advancements has also helped in this industry as well. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Thank you for sharing what actually the whole wrap up in room A. Right now, we'll get room B facilitator, Yang, to maybe do a short wrap up as well.
Okay, thank you, Shamin. So personally, like what Catherine has shared, I actually realized that I've been living my own bubble and not really knowing what's the current food scene like locally and globally. So I was in the room together with James from SOS and Susanna from Urban Origins and found that insights very, very interesting. So as for James, I think the fact that he was able to manage such a large organization with that actually need a lot of funding and actually create such amazing changes is quite inspiring for me per se. especially when he mentioned how hard it was to get organizations on board with them at the start. And when he mentioned that perseverance is key in starting something to build the change that he wants to see, was kind of a motivating factor for me to build the change that I want to see in my local scene as well. As for Susanna, I think what was inspiring for me from her journey in studying urban origins was the fact that how locally produced food actually usually more expensive and more, like, not say very accessible compared to foods that were used to available in supermarkets. So I think that was her challenge. And what was inspiring for it was that she actually persevered and carried on despite all this huge competition and made urban origins to where it is today. So yeah, that's my main takeaways. Thank you.
And thank you, Yang. Thanks for sharing. Maybe I'll just pick a few participants sharing from the biggest takeaway huddle, biggest takeaway from our community huddle. So I see that someone actually mentioned that we can contribute in our small ways and cause big changes if we find like-minded people to help us promote our advocates. Yep, I do agree. Like, so long as you manage to interact and network with like-minded people, any small changes actually will lead to a big impact eventually. Yeah. So the next one I also see is that, someone actually has an insight of what our ASEAN friends are doing to help food insecurity. Nice, thank you so much. I hope that was actually very inspiring for you and you gained better insights on it. Okay, someone also gained a bit more awareness on the avenues where we can actually improve the food insecurity in situations around the region. Yeah, so if you actually want to reach out to the respective organizations, do give them a DM that you'd like to help them or see how you can actually contribute to their organization. Yeah, so do keep the thoughts coming along. So right now, I'd like to also ask and invite the speakers to give some of their last words. So speakers, I'd like to ask, do share with us 1 or 2 words about your experience today. And if you have any last words of advice that you'd like to give to audiences who are present today. So anyone can kick the ball rolling.
I guess I can start.
Okay, great. Thanks, James.
So 2 words that, that significantly pops in my head, and that's insightful and inspirational. Hearing different organizations in the region and hearing and knowing what they're doing to address either poverty or food waste is very inspirational. And knowing that there are actions being done in the region is good enough already for all of us, that there is hope and there is a good future for everyone. But again, like what all of us mentioned, there is a need for us to do more and do things together. We may be representing different organizations or different names, but all of us are trying to do something, and that is to help this planet. We may be living in different countries, but we all live in one planet. And the problem of one country will always be the same problem for the rest. So it needs a group action that all of us must need to do, starting from our home and being part of the community and understanding the problem and understanding the solution will always play a big part in addressing this big problem that we're all facing. So I hope, particularly the young ones that are joining this session or listening to all of these wonderful sessions, I hope you can take some actions out of this, not just by listening and knowing what we do. I hope you can take some personal actions and bring it within your community and find ways on how to contribute, because again, this is just one planet that we all live in. So we need everyone to do something for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Thanks for taking the first step to unmute yourself. Yeah, maybe we can continue the ball rolling. Maybe any other speakers want to go next?
Okay, I want to add.
Sure.
Okay, I feel honored to share Food Bank of Indonesia's work, and exciting to know your thoughts through the question, through the discussion session, and also from the takeaway. The solution, I wanted to add that the solution to tackling poverty, food insecurity, and other social problems starts from involving the excluded, reaching out to the marginalized people, and bringing everyone back in. And community empowerment can be a solution for that. And embracing the community to help and lift others is also at the heart at our operations too. And I hope that it can inspire you all. And each of us has a role in reducing the problem of food insecurity, food waste while protecting the earth, as James has said before. And don't forget to consuming your food wisely, because on the bigger picture, you can protect the environment, contribute to preventing climate change, and help those in need. And it's never too late to create a new change starting today. And you can start from small things every day. Thank you.
Well said, Ruth. Well said. Susanna or Bjorn, any other takers? Or maybe whoever wants to go next.
I think Bjorn wants to go last. Best for last.
Sure.
So I'll just go first. So I think I would like to just have a short sort of closure. So what I would like to say is that what we choose to eat is as important as what we do not eat. Meaning that we need to really think, look at our plates and think, what are we actually eating? Are they from sustainable sources, traceable sources? Are they the most sustainable kind of food? And also what we do not eat, what is left on the plate after we actually consume the meal, is where does it go? Is this going to be good for the environment? Should I have ordered lesser? So I think as long as we think through the process of having what is important on our plate is as important as what we throw away. I think these kind of small steps, even a change in mindset that we have, goes a long way into helping the food security and sustainability landscape moving forward. Wherever we are around the world, being Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, it's all the same. So thank you.
Okay, so I guess I will go last. I think everyone has shared quite a bit. So I will just round off by saying that we need to create a food collective actualization within the region and globally to really change the system. I think the system and really for social entrepreneurs within this group or within the audience to look at systemic change. And this really has to be done together as a global community. So I invite everyone to think about it, to participate in it, and to really see that come through in the next few years. So thank you.
Thank you so much to all the speakers for sharing. With that, we hope that you have enjoyed the event. And before we actually conclude today's event, we'd like to welcome back our founder, Gabriel, to close off today's session. Gabriel, please.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you, Shamin, and thank you so much to all our speakers for all your very insightful sharing. I think it's always very a wonderful time when we have our huddle, and especially now because of the COVID situation where we're bringing it online. I think we are quickly realizing that there's so much work that is actually happening in the whole of ASEAN. And I think if there's two things that I want to take away from today, is these two words. The first word is resilience. I see there's so much that you speakers have gone through and persisted through. And I want to encourage you to keep pressing on despite all the setbacks that you may face. Thank you for your resilience in leading your organizations to build this change. And the second word is community. So community is very important, and it takes a concerted effort. No one organization can do everything. And especially in this increasingly fragmented world, we need to all come together and to work together to fill in the gaps in a leaking pail. Yeah. So yeah, last but not least, every one of you who has joined us today, we all have a role to play in our own lives, like what Ruth said, even in our choices and of food, and whether we finish our food. I hope that everybody start to think about this and maybe have like some changes in our own lifestyle. Yeah. So meanwhile, just another thought that I was having, like especially if urban farms are becoming more urban farms, and and even redistribution of urban food waste is becoming more prevalent, and more people are becoming more aware. Just want to also point out that in the rural areas, right, that these farmers, actually a lot of them are reliant on like urban people, right, for their sales of their food. So I guess like for everything, it's always about a balance. Like say if the cities itself become more sustainable, what will happen to the rural areas, right? But then again, at the end of the day, food was never really meant so much as a commodity, but more just to like keep ourselves like sustainable. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty looking forward to what the world of the future of food and the future of communities will look like. But yeah, so I think thank you all so much for joining us today. And yeah, we're having a second round tomorrow. So see you all there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel, for your wonderful sharing and wonderful closure. So before we end today's session, we'd like to appreciate if you can spend, or you could spend some time to fill up our feedback form. So you can actually access the feedback form via our QR code displayed on the screen, or the link in the Zoom chat, which Amanda has already sent. Your feedback would greatly spur and motivate us to continue our work. Yeah, so I'll give you a few, maybe like 30 seconds to access the feedback form, and you can give us your feedback. Okay, and with that, we have come to the end of day one of Bamboo Buddha's October 2021 Community Huddle. Once again, we'd like to thank all the speakers for their time. Firstly, we have Ms. Ruth Helena, Special Program Officer at Food Bank of Indonesia. Next, we have Mr. James Layson, Managing Director of Scholars of Sustenance in Thailand, followed by Mr. Bjorn Loh, Executive Director and Co-founder of Edible Garden City. Lastly, we have Ms. Susanna Tang, Co-founder of Urban Origins in Singapore. Lastly, we would also like to thank a few people, our partners for the unwavering support, our friends and family who have supported us ever since Bamboo Builder started, Clarissa and a team of interns and volunteers for organizing and executing the whole event. Lastly, it's you, everyone who joined our webinar today. Thank you for taking time off to join us this afternoon. Do remember to follow us on our social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for upcoming activities. Our community huddles are held biannually, with the next one happening in March 2022. So stay tuned for more updates. And for those of you who are joining us tomorrow, see you tomorrow. And please remember to register the Zoom link for tomorrow's session. And with that, we have officially come to the end of our session. Once again, my name is Charmaine, and it's been a pleasure to be your host for today. Grow fast, grow strong. Thank you, and have a great day ahead. See you tomorrow. Bye.